So my guest today comes from United States, Victor Rivas, Managing Director of Larm GROUP, representing one company, all Latin America. Larm is a member of various professional associations such as Worldwide ERC or European Relocation Association, and they cover the staggering number of 26 countries in Latin America and Caribbean with a complete range of destination services. Thank you, Victor, very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Please tell us a brief and nice story that is worth remembering from the life of a relocation professional, relocation expert.
Right. Well, there's one story that we always talk about in the company. It's now very famous. We had an assignee that moved in to a property, and he had a service animal, right? He had a service dog, and we get all the information. We're looking for the property. Since we were not doing his pet transportation, or we weren't doing actually anything with regards to the dog, we just needed to find a house that would allow the dog, right? The dog. We didn't really know the details. And as we actually met him in person and everything, we finally meet the dog, and it was a little 165-pound dog. That's 75 kilos. It was a Great Dane. Obviously an issue because 165 dog, it's almost like you said, it's almost a human. So, we had a few challenges there, but it became to a point where everybody was asking about the dog. Everybody's like, so what are we doing with the dog? Even in other countries and other locations, they knew about the dog. They just found out, and the dog would walk around the property like with wooden floors, and he would bend the floor. Oh, not even because he's 165 pounds.
Of course.
So, we actually obviously overcame it. We found a good landlord. We kind of came to agreements of the areas where, he could move around and whatnot. Obviously, it was a bit challenging, but it was more of the surprise of like, make sure you're always ask how big is the dog, because sometimes they'll tell you, oh yeah, it's a big dog, 40 pounds, 50 pounds, but 165 pounds. And, in the end, it all worked out. We actually even got the dog some special shoes. So
for the dog.
Yeah, so he could walk through like the common areas of the building and places like that. That was a very memorable story. And, it kind of shows us how, you always have to be prepared for the unexpected, right?
For everything. Yeah. Victor, 26 countries. Wow. The question that comes to my mind right now is how do you ensure the quality of your services for all your destinations?
I guess one word, standardization. But obviously it's about unifying the company mission, vision, and the culture, right? As long as your team knows what the company is about, as long as your team knows what your mission is, what your vision, what your values are, and they're shared across the different countries, the different locations. Mm-hmm. We collaborate with over 300 employees, right? So as long as you have that unified company culture, you can go ahead and deliver that service, right? You can try and have that same level of success in all your locations, right? There's obviously always going to be certain things that vary from country to country, depending on local laws and regulations. But as long as you have that unified company culture, unified mission and vision, then you can do that.
And everybody adheres to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What would be that one decision in your life that you're right now extremely happy that you had made?
Well, that's an easy one. It's a bit personal, but marrying my wife, it was very easy.
It's very sweet.
It's a personal one. It's very easy, but it kind of ties into having the right partner to support you in everything you do. Mm-hmm. So that's an easy one for me.
Super. Can you give us like a couple of examples or one example of one such thing that you should never do when managing so many destinations?
I would say don't micromanage. Don't micromanage. First of all, because it's nearly impossible. Again, the bigger the company, the harder it's going to be. But even for smaller companies, that would be my advice.
How can you resist? But how can you resist the temptation to micromanage?
You have to trust your team. You have to make sure that you empower them instead of micromanaging, right? Obviously, the best way to do that is trust and empowering your team to actually do, give them the tools, give them the resources, give them the guidelines of what they need to do, but do not micromanage, because you're going to get in their way. You're not going to be able to micromanage everyone, and it's going to cause you a lot of stress. So that's definitely my number one go-to advice.
Very good advice. And I have as a final question, another possibly personal question. What would be your superpower?
Well, I don't know if it's a superpower, but it's certainly something that I think a lot of people recognize in me, is that I probably have an ability to help people solve problems. I'm a problem solver. When somebody needs to put out a fire, they come to me. And I have a pretty good track record of being able to find solutions.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Victor.
Thank you for having me.